Welcome back to another episode of Singapore's Real Estate Explained, brought to you by the J&A Investments team.
And today we have the third launch of the year, and we just went past a very hectic weekend.
2025 just started,
Yes.
and 2 launches have already launched.
Yes, we have Ori and Beckner House.
Yeah.
And this is something that came on the market and it's crazy over the weekends. So now we have a third launch launching soon. In the next 2 weeks, we have the floor plan ready, and we have ParkTown over here. So ParkTown itself is an integrated development found in the heart of Tampines M11, and let's see how it will fare this time. Okay, but before we start, as usual, I'd like to thank all our clients. We recently checked out numbers for 2024 and realized that we serve over 713 investment clients, and we still look forward to evaluate to more of this group of individuals, and we are getting about 19.56% returns per annum, net after cost, and it's something that we are very thankful for all your support. And also, okay, our Google review currently stands at 148.
Thank you all our clients that took the time to leave a Google review for us also.
Yes, and subscribers wise, we just refreshed 15.6k. So it is something that we are looking forward to value out more. So if you have anything you want to highlight to improve our channel, let us know, and we're more than happy to bring more value to you.
So let's start the video for today on ParkTown Residences. And I think it's a development that a lot of people have been talking about because it's one of the integrated development that's coming up. And everybody in Singapore, I mean, most people love integrated development because it's very convenient.
Yes, the MRT downstairs, shopping mall downstairs, everything is all by your doorstep. And one thing to take note is that this development have 1195 units, a big development, more than thousands units integrated. We haven't seen such a big integrated development for some time. In fact,
last time was
the
Resale
Residences, there's only about 800, 700 plus units. Okay, so location-wise, okay, for ParkTown, which is located in the heart of Tampines North, is a new township. Things are developing right there. And currently, if you go there, it's really
nothing.
Yeah. So it's something that people are hyping about and raving about because it's really the new town and new kid in the block.
And the MRT is going to be done in 2030. So around the time when ParkTown is going to be developed. So once ParkTown is done, MRT should be ready, or it's going to be a short period once the MRT. So you don't really have to wait for it if someone were to buy into ParkTown.
Yes, indeed. And let's take a look at the land bids. Okay, so there are 3 developers bidded for this land. We have the top developer by CapitaLand and UOL combined called Topaz Residential. Okay, they bidded at $1.2 billion. Then for Pine 2 Commercial and Pine 2 Residential, this is by All Green, which is well known in the Bukit Timah collection back then, and also your famous Tanglin Mall. And also the third in place, which recently EOK, Sim Lian, they've finally sold 99.99% of the development. So right now they are actually looking to bid into other lands aggressively.
I think this year a lot, I think developers are trying to clear out the units because you've seen like EOK,
Yes.
you've seen like Chuan Park. Usually developers don't aim to clear on the same day because they know that they can price stage it up later on. I think because all the land bids that's coming up, they're trying to clear units so that they can move cash flow also.
Yes, indeed. And I was saying that if I make 10% per annum in just 1 year time and clear the units, I can concurrently make more along. So it's more like, I would say, hit and run method rather than holding the price and hoping that the market will catch up in the next 2 to 3 years.
So I think for a land bid wise, they did overpay a little, quite a bit at close to 14% as compared to the second bidder also.
Yes, indeed. So before we move on to ParkTown, we just run through what is integrated development, and looking at how ParkTown can fare. We will look at the past case studies. If you have integrated development, how did it fare in the past few years? Okay.
I mean, on launch, integrated is always very popular, but we also want to see, when it comes to the resale market, are people willing to pay that same premium? Are they as profitable as like the non-integrated ones also?
Yes, indeed. So what is integrated development? Usually it is a mix of commercial, residential, 2 in 1. And you have a shopping right by your doorstep. We have an MRT, a bus interchange, hawker center. So it's a very highly demanded kind of project. And if you look at the past few times, some of the famous examples of development names are like Campus Heights, Watertown, okay, like Hilton Residences. They are usually found in the OCR region with some exception where you see Dua, Marina One, and South Beach Residences found in the heart of CBD. Okay, and if you were to look in the RCR region, you also seen areas like Woodley Residences. We're seeing places like Reserve, which was the latest that launched for integrated. So there's something that's why when ParkTown came out, it's where talk of the town. Yeah. Literally. And
it was like when Reserve came out, it was the talk of the town.
Yes, and there's something that people are anticipating, and the demand that you see on the ground, inquiries, is actually pretty healthy.
Yeah. So I think the next thing I want to look at is also the premium that this past integrated developments actually paid as compared to, let's say, OCR at the time or RCR at the time. So to go back in 2019 when Sengkang Grand was actually launched, the OCR per square feet was about 1,004-ish and Sengkang Grand actually launched about 1,007. So it's quite common that integrated usually has a premium, and that premium over here is about 294. So we see the same for North Park. In OCR in 2015 it was about 1,180. North Park was 1,003, so that's about $183 in premium.
Yes.
2013 for Hillian Residences versus OCR is about 172 premium, and then Watertown versus OCR is about 148. So to convert it into, I would say, percentage-wise, it ranges all the way from 13.9 to about 20. So I would say average is about 15-16% thereabout.
Yes, indeed. So at least it's about 150 per square feet, about even 300 per square feet, depending on area. But the key thing is, yes, they're paying a premium, but let's see how
Did they
they
perform
fare.
or not?
Yeah. So you can see over here, if you look at Sengkang Residences, okay, it went up by about 15.9%. I would say decent, not too shabby. But when then you look at the other integrated development like North Park, Hillian, and Watertown, you realize that on launch day as compared to when they sell like 3OP, 3 to 4 years down the road, a lot of them are single digit gains. 9, 8, 8.64. It's not really that great. But the key thing is, okay, yes, overall, maybe Sengkang Grand makes 16%, the rest is single digit. But let's compare to how did Singapore market fare back then. So you can see, although yes, Sengkang Grand makes 16%.
Not too bad.
Yeah, not too bad, about double digit. But what we see is that Singapore back then only make about 23.56%.
Yeah.
And that itself actually, relatively, Sengkang Grand actually underperformed. Okay. And what we notice is for the other integrated development, okay, which is your North Park Residences, Watertown, okay, they also underperform as compared to Singapore average. The only one that outperforms slightly, if you really scroll all the way in, is actually Hillian Residences during the 2013 time, which was really the peak of all the Singapore market, and then until today, what we notice is that yes, outperformed, but
Slightly. So when everybody say actually Hillian don't make money, right? Actually, Singapore at that period also didn't really make, and actually Hillian outperformed very slightly.
Yeah, so we can see from this, it's a very distinct characteristic of integrated demand. Yes, there's high in demand. People say near MRT, people want to buy. But when it comes to really in the open market, when you sell later on, the percentage gain may not be always the best.
Yeah.
And not just that, sometimes it may underperform as compared to buying something that is not integrated and far for MRT.
I think because when you first enter as a new buyer, right, the developer would have already priced in the premium, knowing that Singaporeans generally love MRT. So when I have an MRT, I'm going to price the premium in when I sell it, and people usually buy into that at the start.
Correct. But when it comes to the open market, the resale market, maybe there's some attributes of the development, or it's actually need to be pricey then. So that's something that we notice for the past performance.
Okay. So the next thing what we want to look at is actually at that time when these integrated developments were launched, what other launches were there? And if we had an alternative and we entered into the other launches, what would have the profit been? So if we look at 2019 back then when Sengkang Grand was actually launched, it was also the time when Treasures launched and Riverfront Residence launched during the same period, right? And you look at the per square feet back then, Treasures was about 1,003, Riverfront was about 1,003 when Sengkang Grand was about 1,007.
Yes.
So you will see that the increment in terms of their profit-wise, actually Treasures and Riverfront did outperform Sengkang Grand, even though their location had no MRT, but because their entry price was much lower at that time.
Yes, indeed. In fact, Riverfront is a very good example because it's also a Hougang area. A bit down near to your Sengkang Grand, which is a Bongkok area. You can see, although one location is all the way 4 bus stop away from MRT, not exactly a very convenient location, but what we see that Riverfront way outperform that of your Sengkang Grand. Okay.
So the next one is 2015 when North Park was launched. North Park Residence, when they launched, High Park and Coco Palms launched at the same time. And these two, they had no MRT. So you notice that their per square feet when they launched in 2015 was lower at 982 for High Park and 1014 for Coco Palms. We see a similar trend where the non-integrated ones perform much better than the integrated one at North Park at 20 to 23% versus about 9% also.
Yes, indeed. So it is obvious that for integrated development, you buy in general, you can be very excited. You can be very, this can be high demand right now. But when it comes to exiting the market, it may not perform as compared to that of other developments.
It's like if you buy for own stay, it's something convenient. And generally speaking, we've seen integrated developments perform. It's just that from an investment, it may not be the most profitable.
Yes,
so we'll see how ParkTown actually fare as an integrated as compared to today's new launches, and what is the premium that ParkTown will be launching?
Yes, indeed. And one thing that we can trace, of course, is today, where are we standing for the OCR new launch PSF? So right now, we are looking at almost a 2,245 per square feet.
Wow, another new benchmark for OCR. Last time when Treasure Launch, you say, 1,003 for OCR is very expensive. Then after that, it keeps going up and up and up.
Yeah, and so what we see over here is very interesting because if ParkTown will launch like usually 15% above this, you may say even close to a 2,513 per square feet, which is wow. And people may end up maybe looking at this kind of prices. But one thing note is, of course, I mean, let's take a look at how ParkTown launched. If they launch it very cheap, I mean, below the OCR average, then maybe there's a no-brainer. So that's something that we cannot just say, integrated doesn't make money, but it's more like looking at what price they will tend to launch at. So let's move on to the next part, which is the entry price analysis. Yeah, so with this, right, we will be dissecting this a myth, or rather there's an error that we have been seeing publicized either online or the other places, who can misquoted the break-even price for ParkTown. Okay, so this is something that we have been analyzing, and we noticed that this is something that have been flashed in other places, in some resources, where we see that the break-even they mentioned, all I mentioned is 1,661 per square.
Not bad, and then quite
low,
bad, right?
Yeah, because I think maybe this will launch, then end up launching 1,009,
It's like when we
2,000.
saw Reserve, the Reserve break-even was also quite
very
low.
Pretty low. And then what happened is that then people start quoting, maybe you'll launch at 2,000, 1,009, or even like something low.
1,008.
But one thing that if you really look into the numbers is that this is actually not the right break-even price. Okay, why so? Okay, so to break this down, right, to explain this, let's use a case study. Back to the past, we have this condo called Resale Residences. When it first launched, when it first came out, land was bought, the break-even price was at 1,658 per square feet. That was the break-even.
For RCR.
That was like integrated. So we were using this as a benchmark, and then after that, interestingly, when the launch was launched, and a few weeks later, suddenly this data in the system changed. And it changed to this data, which is 2,330 per square feet. Okay, and why did it change? It's because if you notice and look into the fine print, this 1,658 per square feet for Resale back then, they actually include you selling the commercial segment. Means that the commercial segment includes, in this case, service apartment, retail, and bus interchange. Which technically, when it comes to in the open market, it cannot be sold. It is supposed to be used for rental use. So when they do this and include commercial segment, this number is actually artificially bumped up to 96,000 square meter. That's why overall break even seems very low. But when we take out this component, which is a service apartment we rented out, cannot be sold. Your retail component, which is usually managed by developer, or commercial component, your bus interchange, that gives it only 63,000 square meter of residential plot. So this is actually the actual break even. When you take the total cost divided by this 63,000, give you 2,330. That's why when it launched at 2,526, it was actually something that was more realistic. Okay. And rationale of why they cannot even sell retail, two main reasons, is because for retail's commercial, they usually do very badly.
They want to, they either do badly, or if they don't manage it, then the tenants will be like
Japalang, yeah. And it doesn't run well, it doesn't reflect well on the development itself. So usually developers don't want to sell the commercial and they want to just simply rent it out and manage themselves. So with this, right, if you rotate it back to ParkTown and you read into the fine print, you go into the ERI master plan, go and click all the way in, and you found out one thing is that actually in this 126,000 square meters quoted in this database is actually inclusive of close to 20,000 square meter of commercial. Okay, 20,000 square meter of commercial, which if you look, actually includes like your retail mall, your bus interchange, your community center, which technically cannot be sold, hawker and food center, which usually be rented out. So the effective residential area left is only 108,000 square meter. So if you really divide by the actual costing, divide by this, what you'll get is the break even is 1,931 per square feet. And if you factor in area harmonization, the actual break even you see over here is about 2,066 per square feet. So at a 10% profit margin, we will potentially see about close to 2,223. And on average, we may foresee even 2,400 per square feet, which we will explain why later on this could be the upgraded launch price. Okay.
So I think looking at new launch comparison, the closest that we have is Pasir Ris 8, also an integrated development. And you'll see that normally integrated, they on weekend launch, they cleared 85% of the units. And if you remember, Pasir Ris 8 actually increased their price multiple times.
Yep.
Like Chuan Park on the same day itself, and people were still buying into it.
Yes.
Okay, so you'll see for Pasir Ris 8, at this moment, they've cleared out 100% of the units. And their most recent transactions for new sale, you'll see that they already have one sub-sale, which is about 1,893, close to 1,009. If not, the last few units of their new sale, their 3-bedder went about close to 1,009, and their 2-bedders went for close to about 2,001.
Yes.
That's why Pasir Ris 8 and these transactions were last year. So when this year coming up, if last year's pricing is about 2,001, we would expect ParkTown to be higher than what Pasir Ris 8 was transacting.
Yeah, in fact, one and a half year ago, that was really some time ago. So you may expect even higher prices. Yeah. And if you look at the profit margin, you can see one case study, the only one transacted. Which interestingly, they transacted, I would say just nice, hit 3 years sell stamp duty. It is 1-bedder. And after, selling and holding, the 1-bedder only made about 100K.
Haven't paid all your buyer stamp duty.
Buyer stamp duty.
Legal fees.
Now of everything, maybe only 40, 50K, which is, that's why nowadays you can see in a lot of launches now, I mean, investors are smarter now. They stop buying into like I would say smaller bedroom types. Yeah, so unless you're talking about pure rental that's another approach, but nonetheless, capital appreciation, not that great. Yeah. Okay, so another new launch that they will potentially benchmark against is this particular new launch called Bagnall Horse, which over the weekends, before we filmed this video, 63% sold. And the average per square feet is 2,490 per square feet. And area-wise, this is actually next to Sungai Bedok MRT, which will only be M2026. It's the blue line and the brown line interchange. And what we see over here is a boutique development, 113 units. And
people wanted to pay 2,490.
Yes.
And just before that, there was an RCR development that, developer dropped price slightly, and their freehold RCR was also similarly priced.
Yes, indeed. And it's something that's crazy because if people are willing to pay this kind of price for a boutique development, imagine ParkTown sees this and they launch their price. There's something that they may want to benchmark against, especially this also in the East. Yeah, so there's something that we do lay into perspective, and this is a project we tell clients to avoid because, in short, that's why they won't film the video. Yeah, and there's something that we also noticed that for a small boutique development like this, the exit strategy must have a very huge benchmark that hedge against.
Means your price must be very attractive.
Yes, indeed. Okay, so with this, let's take a look. If ParkTown will launch about 2.3 to 2.4, how will it compare to Pasir Ris 8 in the past and also other resale developments? Okay, so first up, let's take a look at Pasir Ris 8 as compared to ParkTown, the 2-bed, 2-bath. So ParkTown, if you notice, the layout, they actually did a dumbbell layout. Very
Everybody
popular.
loves dumbbell now.
Yes.
Because as the per square feet gets more expensive, right? The corridor gets more expensive also.
Yes. So the developer decided to make it more efficient. Yeah, with a nice enclosed section tucked at one corner. Estimated on average, it could be about 1.55 to 1.6 plus million, about 2,003 per square feet. And then when compared it to Pasir Ris 8, transacted in 2023, which is some time ago, at 1.492 for a 4th floor unit. This suddenly seems like, ParkTown is
seems
comparable.
not too bad. Yeah.
Quantum is still quite decent for the 2-bed, 2-bath. Okay. Meanwhile, if you move on to the 3-bed, 2-bath, okay, that is when things get a little slightly more interesting. You see there's a dumbbell layout for the 3-bed, 2-bath, 926 square feet. Okay, and you have another conventional layout at 936 square feet. And the price you see over here is about 2.129 million to about 2.15 million. As compared to Resale 8 transacted just last year, January 2024. What we see is 1023 had transacted 1.934, potentially when they sell higher 2.1. So that's something that we may see, that the price hedging for ParkTown to Pasir Ris 8, I would say is comfortable, not too bad in terms of quantum wise. Yeah. And if you look at the 3-bed premium, then things get a little more interesting, where the gap starts to get a little wider, but one thing to take note is Pasir Ris 8 do not have a 3-bedroom premium transacted for sub-sale, so there's no direct comparative. Okay, and last but not least is the 4-bedroom, transacted last year, February 2024. That's when the gap seems to be a little wide.
This is a very big 4-bed at 1.35.
1.35.
And for 2.9, if they really launch it at 2002 for 4-bed at 2.9, that's like Ori's Toa Payoh 4-bed
starting from price. Yeah. So this eventually maybe they will launch it like lower at 2,000 or 2.1. But I launched at 2,000 to an average. This is really almost hitting an RCR price, which is something that it does how the
Exit-wise
price gap
will be challenging.
will be
It's like you have to
challenging.
convince people why they would buy yours over, let's say, a RCR.
RCR property, correct. So with this for Pasir Ris, let's take a look at the other resale comparative nearby. Okay, so for comparative wise, if within Tampines North, there's actually no new launch, no
because
resale.
it's a new area.
township. So the closest we can ever compare is to jump past the TPE,
Go slightly
upwards, and somewhere a bit further away from Pasir Ris area, closer to Pasir Ris area, which is Dines and Coco Palms. These are the newest condo. One is about 9 years old, one is about 11 years old. Okay, big development, 912 and 944 units. Okay, so let's take a look at the comparative. So one thing to note is for Dines and Coco Palm, one thing to take note is the PSF wise, Coco Palm is about 1,006, Dines about 1,004. Very interesting. And when compared to that of the whole Singapore, they actually outperform to some extent. Yeah, so Singapore went up by 24.13%. But I can see in the past few years, Dines and Coco Palms, because of Pasir Ris 8, they went up by 34% and 32.98%.
And actually, we took out the new sale so that, the new sale don't add an anomaly to the numbers because it usually push us up the prices quite a bit. So we only look at the sub-sale and resale in Singapore as well as how, the resale market in Singapore compared to the resale in Dines and Coco Palms.
Yes. So let's take a look at the Dines performance, Dines transactions. So right now when we're speaking, okay, Dines on average about 1,462 per square feet, okay, semi much lower. And just take a look, it comes with bay windows. So that's something that we have to factor that in to compare layout to layout and to see how does it fare. So for Dines, you can see for the bigger bedrooms, 1,410, the 4-bedders are 2.06 million. Okay, and for the 3-bedder, it's about close to the 1.67 million. Okay.
So in terms of profitability, I think Dines did pretty okay. You see that profit ranges from about 400 plus all the way to about 1.2 million. This was over a period of about 10 years to about 8 years, depending on when they actually bought in. And then we look at the layout. As usual, developments within a certain time frame, you'll see the very familiar bay window and planter. Okay, so Dines doesn't have a balcony, but they have 2 planters, one in the bathroom too. So I think when you go to the toilet, you can enjoy some view of your plants on the outside. And of course, the difference is one is before harmonization and one is after. So for Dines, of course, aircon latch is then included. Bay windows all around. You can see that your smaller room can only fit a single bed because I think there is floor storage inside the room.
Yeah, I also realize this thing is a very, I would say, big thing nowadays about having a too small bedroom. And this is something that people are maybe more concerned and not really pay their premium for this particular extra bedroom.
I think if you look at the layout wise, I would prefer ParkTown layout a lot more to Dines because Dines, you walk in, the kitchen is part of your dining basically. Then you'll see the table only has 3 chairs because you fit the chairs into the other side.
There
is no more space to walk. But for ParkTown, they managed to kind of enclose the kitchen even though there's no windows.
Yes, indeed. Okay, let's take a look at the 3-bedder. 3-bedder wise, you can see layout wise, it's actually much better. Just one thing to take note is one of the bedrooms, once again, because of this very funny pillar over here, you only fit a single size bed. You want to fit something, the floor storage itself really take up quite a lot of space. So
unless you do tatami, then you bring it up. Then you just flush your bed all the way. Side.
Yeah, this is the solution to this. But in short, the bedroom 3 is actually pretty small. So demand wise, people are not so keen. And if you look at the kitchen, it's very interesting. The kitchen is even more tiny. Most of the space actually goes to the planter and the bay window. Yeah. So 947 effectively can only be like 780 square feet. That is actually usable space. So that makes this entire place, layout is very important. The demand for this is actually quite low because of such layout types. Okay, but then you compare the price, then you see, wow, there's actually a huge jump. Okay, where 1.34, even at a premium 1.5, 1.6, yeah, if I really make it into an official decent layout, the jump is about 400-500K, which I think in this area, it may make it a little more pricey as compared to that of the resale when compared to Dines to ParkTown.
Yeah, so looking at the premium one, you'll see that for Dines, it's 1130. Again, you have the similar one of the bedrooms. They have that pillar thing, so it's a smaller bedroom. And then, of course, your aircon ledge, your planter, it's at 1.68 for the last transacted in September 2024 versus the 1066 at ParkTown. So I was saying the difference in the quantum is quite significant. It's almost 800,000 as compared to the smaller, like let's say 2-bedders. You start to see the difference in quantum over here.
Yes, indeed. Alright, and last one is the 4-bedder. 4-bedder wise, you can see Dina is huge, 1410 square feet. Okay, and once again, even though they added one more big bedroom, the iconic
The one
Utami small bedroom is
still
still
there.
there. And basically it's 2.06 million. Okay, where the additional bedroom is facing in the inside, very similar in layout type. Then the difference became even more drastic. Close to about
Almost
900k.
900 plus K.
Yeah, 900 plus K. Of course, that's why I mentioned factoring in integrated development, etc. It made such to narrow this gap a little bit more, but I would say the difference between the resale and this new launch here is actually pretty huge. Okay, next up, let's take a look at this project called Coco Palms, another resale that is near to Pasir Ris MRT. Okay, basically, this is one of the winning new launch that launched in 2014, 2015 period. And what we see over here is that the PSA currently is about 1664 per square feet. Okay, let's take a look at the quantum and see how you compare to that of your Tampines F11 or ParkTown. Compact 3-bedder is about 1.53. 1-bedder is about 800 plus K. And the bigger 4-bedder is about close to 2.3 million.
There's a profitability. We'll see that, 216 profitable, 0 unprofitable. So I would say that, Coco Palms did pretty well. The holding period from about 2014, 2015 to about 2024, over 10 years, some made about 800 plus all the way up to about 900 plus K.
Yes.
Okay, so looking at the layout, same thing again. Same as the nest, the room has a floor storage. So I would say in terms of exit-wise, this could be one of the concerns that buyers may bring up, right? Like if I don't do a tatami bed, I can only fit in a single size bed for one of it.
Yes.
And then of course my master bedroom is much bigger. They should have evened out. They should have evened it out.
Yeah,
right?
so layout is quite important.
Yeah. So for this one at 743 square feet, last transacted in 26 November 2024 was about 1.127. If you compare it to the quantum of ParkTown, it's then about 1.559.
Yes, indeed. And next, 3-bedder. 3-bedder, I would say it become more comparative, 926 square feet. But once again, the tatami bed layout, I will call it a tatami bed layout for now. It's still there. Single size bed, and you need to do the storage that's installed, floor storage, and 1.53 million. Okay, as compared to that of ParkTown, which is about a more efficient layout, dumbbell layout. I guess layout is much better. Without the bay window, etc., added in factor something that's more functional, maybe it's about 1.7 plus 1.8 million. I guess it closes out the gap a little more. Okay, so next let's take a look at the 3-bedroom premium layout. You can see right over here, this layout is actually much bigger for the living area and the kitchen along with utility and washroom in the back. But once again, the typical tatami layout is still there with this floor storage and bay window at this corner.
Cannot run. It's everywhere.
Run. I guess
in every single layout.
Maybe
it's a unique thing about this area.
Maybe the era of that area. People just love this kind of layout. Maybe it gives a zen feeling. But what we noticed is that with this and a bigger master bedroom, the total price is 1.83 million. If you add in something more, remove the planter, the bay window, potentially something more efficient, could be close to a $2 million layout. Yeah, so compared to this, I would guess the price get really closer a little more as compared to Dines. Okay, the last one is the 4-bedroom. 4-bedroom wise, 1259 square feet. Okay, even with that same thing, the typical tatami layout is still there. Okay, but bigger living area, another bedroom added in. Currently, the price transacted for last is about 1.9 million. And this gap, once again, for a 4-bedder is pretty wide, close to a $1 million gap. Even with it being integrated, more efficient, if you really get this kind of pricing, I honestly find exit-wise it will be really not easy.
I think they may launch slightly lower for this layout because it's really very big. So the quantum is going to be very high for 2.9. This is almost close to 3 million for 4-bedder and the OCR. Yes, it's integrated, but I'm thinking that the developer may price this layout a little bit lower in terms of per square feet.
Yes, indeed. And trying to match something lower. So hopefully they do that.
So looking in summary for their quantum on ParkTown versus the resale, right, you'll notice that 2-bedder wise is about 1.1 to 1.2 for the resale. ParkTown is going to be about 1.56. 3-bedder Dines is about 1.4. Coco Palms is about 1.5 and ParkTown about 2.2. And then 4-bedder is about 1.9, 2.2 for the resale and ParkTown is going to be at 2.94. So you see the gap getting wider and wider and wider as you go up in terms of the unit size.
Yes, indeed. But of course, if this operator price, if it launch way lower, then we have reassess to see whether it's actually worth considering.
Yeah.
Okay, so with all this hype going on and people say, wow, the band beats can be pretty high. I mean, the price is high. There's actually, I would say, a silver lining, okay, for ParkTown, is that there's actually an upcoming land bid that may be even higher, which is this place at Tampines Street 94, all the way at Tampines West MRT, which is an upcoming new township.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is another new launch that will come up 1.5 year time. Floor area is 61,000 quoted, but take note, 10,500 square meter is commercial. So the actual is about 51,000 square meter. So looking at this, break-even, yes, it's 1,823, but actual break-even should be about 2,196 per square feet. Add area harmonization, 7%. It's about 2,349 per square feet, which means they had to launch at about 2,425.
Well, it's quite crazy. But this won't be so soon because their land has just been bidded close to end of last year. So it will take like 1 to 1.5 years for it to be even launched, right? So this could be, let's say, end of this year or even 2026 pricings already.
Yes, indeed. So it's something that potentially can be a price hedge against in the long-term run. And one more thing that is interesting that to conclude why we're confident that they may launch at that kind of prices. Yeah, maybe wrong, is that because the developer for ParkTown, if you notice, is CapitaLand, okay, UOL. CapitaLand was the one that actually did Jayden, which is almost fully sold out. So the running story is that they were saying that, hey, if Jayden is very fully sold out at close to about 2,545 per square feet on average, and it's a Jurong area, this is a new township, Tampines, hotly in demand. Why can't we also hit the same price in this? So it's something that CapitaLand is well known, like for Sky Habitat, this kind that they are well known to be able to launch higher and demand a higher price because of its brand name and also in a good location. They're going to pay a premium for it and sell high. So that's something that potentially, that's why this is our prediction. We may be wrong, but let's see how it goes.
Maybe the developer is in a good mood. And like Reserve Residence, right? We never know. Reserve Residence, they kind of launched a little bit under, because they got the land cheap. So they launched it slightly under what the market expected. So it could be a Jayden where it's launched crazily, or it could be a Reserve Residence where it's being launched very sensitively.
But ultimately, back to the entry price. Yeah. So with this, we come to the end of this video. I hope you enjoyed the entire analysis from the market of the market trends of integrated development, how they perform, all the way down to the micro of ParkTown, how we will perform based on the resale gap analysis. Okay, so as usual, we usually end off with our favorite
bar
approach: buy, wait, or avoid. And doing things a little differently, we decided to have two different prices. Okay, so perhaps we have one at about 2,001 per square feet. Okay. And one more at 2,004 per square feet.
Which is like maybe the average.
Average, yeah. So we'll do a bar approach for these two prices and we decide what exactly is the price we should enter. Okay. So let's start with 2001 first. Okay. Because is it buy, wait, or avoid? Okay. So it is 3, 2, 1. Wait.
Buy.
Okay. So why buy?
I think for me it's a buy because it being an integrated development, I think 2001 is slightly under what the average OCR is for even areas that may not be near the MRT. And with the fact that this is actually a post-area harmonized project, right? So I think 2001, you prorate it down, it could be like 1,009-ish, 2,000. I think it's something that's very fair because we've seen, integrated, usually it does have a premium, about 15%. And if I can get it like, at the same price as a non-integrated or even slightly under, I think it's going to be easy to exit in the future.
Yes. Okay. So for me, my wait is because once again, the price may be low, but what happens according to the quantum of the resale, there's still a slight gap. But one more thing to take note is that honestly, it's very based on bad number. Because if your bad number is, number 1, number 10.
We got our clients 50, we told our clients to walk away because when it comes to their ballot number, it was pretty high already.
Or rather, it reached a point where the price is not acceptable. So there's always a walk away price. Yeah, so with this, let's end on with one more, the second bar approach, which is for the second price. 2,400 per square feet. Okay, buy, wait, or avoid. Let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Avoid. Okay, so why avoid?
Okay, I think 2,004, unless it's like you want to stay there, if not for pure investments, I felt like 2,004 for an area, it's a bit too high because there are other alternatives in the market, like maybe even in the OCR market where, the prices haven't really moved and, you can get something, maybe 2,005 plus per square feet, but now you're paying 2,004 for an OCR project. Exit-wise would be a little bit tougher, I would say, for profitability.
Yes, indeed. I do agree. And that's something that we do always look at OCR and the RCR comparative. If you're saying RCR that is a better price, I want to go for RCR. And the fact that you're buying high, you need to sell even higher.
Because you need to exit 2.7. I mean,
2.6.
Will it ever hit 2.7, 2.8 for OCR? Like, we don't know where the market is going to be. It's just that the certainty of it hitting that price, it's is a little bit uncertain.
Certain, yeah. Especially even though people say, look at this like Jaden, they say that wow, it will hit 27, 28. But once again, it's also one off. It doesn't mean that if you buy this price today, we're kind of exiting, people are going to pay that price in the future. So we are always, for investment, we want to play it safe. We want to make sure that there's always something called walk away price.
And a buffer.
Yeah, on a buffer, that we are not just trying to be bullish and always like trying to predict a higher price, but looking at something that I know if I exit today, buy today, exit later on, there's more safety hedging and more points that we can actually exit rather than simply just looking at, wow, I can sell high because of Jaden, and just using one example as a benchmark.
Yep. So I think with that, if you want to know more about ParkTown, which tech to pick, how to select your units, if it's something that you want to consider, you can reach out to our QR code at the bottom and someone reach out to you also.
Yes. And so with this, come to the end of this video. My name is Christian.
This is Grace. We'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.